All right, I'm live. Here we go. So far, it's just me, which is totally fine because I'm getting used to this. And if anybody else is here, welcome. My name is Cari Frame. I'm a self-kindness coach here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. As you can see from my window, we've got a whole bunch of fresh snow today, which is beautiful and also daunting. So thanks so much for being here. I'm glad to be here. So this is Kindness for Lunch. I thought we could get together every week, take a moment to kind of reset. If you're on a wellness journey, a weight loss journey, and you're so focused on the physical side of things, right? You've got to get your steps in and make your nutritional choices and everything. Sometimes we forget to just sort of step back and get in touch with yourself and your inner life, how you're doing at an emotional level, how you're doing with your motivation. That's a big one. What gets in the way with your, hi, welcome, SBBS. Glad you're here. What gets in the way with your motivation on your weight loss journey? That's a huge one. And sometimes we're so busy being critical of ourselves that we stop having the ability to say, hey, you know what? Instead of just giving myself a hard time about my motivation, maybe I should just pause. And I always put my hand to my heart and really say, like, how am I actually doing? How am I really doing today? Because, hey, hi, Smoke Focus Media. Glad you're here. So let's just do it together for a minute. This is the start of Kindness for Lunch. And of course, if you're eating your lunch, eat your lunch. Don't let me get in the way of that. But let's just take a minute and think about it like you're putting down all of the efforts of life just for a moment. You're putting down the doing and the striving and the, searching to be as good at something as you possibly can. You're just putting all of that down for a minute. And you're just checking in with yourself as a person who deserves care. How are you doing? And just see what comes up. How are you doing? Let me know in the chat. When you really just ask yourself without any judgment, how am I doing? What comes up? For me, it actually comes up that I'm hungry. It's lunchtime. So I brought over, I was going to make a carrot salad, but realized that I'm out of carrots. So I'm going to make a spinach salad. I don't know if you need to see this, but I've got apple here. I like apple in salad, and I've got some lovely spinach in the fridge. So I'm just going to cut that up. But you guys let me know. How are you doing? If you were to ask yourself that question, not from a place of like judgment, because so often, especially on weight loss journeys, we are always looking at ourselves from a place of judgment. Like, oh, I didn't eat the right breakfast today. I should have walked more yesterday. I should have got to the gym. I should have, right? This is a massive thing that we do to ourselves constantly, right? Yeah, just absolutely jump into the chat, ask me questions. I'm gonna give you my thoughts, but more than anything, I'd love to know, worried about Christmas. Oh, yeah. And what's your worry? Like what's coming up there? SBBS. I'm worried if I'm gonna be able to drive later. There's so much snow. Alcohol, okay. Like, can you trust yourself around all the alcohol that comes out at this time of year? You know, the trust that we have in ourselves is the underpinning of all the choices that we make. Yeah, exactly. So when we're afraid that we can't trust ourselves, that actually creates the likelihood that we will follow through on actions that don't support us. So part of what kindness for lunch can be is to reframe that fear in yourself of like, oh no, I don't know if I can trust myself around alcohol this Christmas. And fear is always a thing that wants to kind of tell the future. Your fear thought is saying, yep, you better be scared because there's a really good chance that you're going to make bad choices and you're going to regret them and da 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 da, right? All these things. But I often recommend answer fear with fact. So what are the facts that you know about yourself that can help you look to the future with a little more confidence, a little more self-trust? For example, how are you doing with alcohol right now? How is your decision making with alcohol right now? And by the way, if it's like not great, well, you have some knowledge that you can bring to the future. Because whenever we're dealing with what's here right now, you have something tangible that you can do something about. When your mind is going to this place of fear about the future, there's not actually anything you can do to fix the future because it doesn't exist yet. It hasn't happened yet. But still, your mind can get in a really strong habit of trying to solve the future when it doesn't even happen. It hasn't even happened yet. So when you bring it into this moment and you say to yourself, okay, what can I do? What am I doing about my choices for my own well-being today? And you kind of take stock and you say, okay, well, what are the facts? Because of course, sometimes when we self-assess, the first thing we do is get critical. Oh, well, I had a beer last night, so I'm not doing great. It's like, okay, let's look to the facts and really see them clearly. Let's say, for example, you had a beer yesterday. Did you have 5? No, you had 1. Okay, what do you know about yourself because you chose to have 1 instead of 5? You know that you have some abilities to make choices that support your well-being. You're not perfect because guess what? We're all human. We're all never going to be perfect. It's not in the cards for us. If you're human, you're not going to be perfect. However, you can be a person in progress, a person who is taking a win from yesterday and building it into 2 wins for today. And we can only do that if we start from a place of kindness and care. Because whenever we're starting from a place of judgment, you're always looking at what you didn't do, what you should have done, what you did, but you didn't do it well enough. And you're kind of beating yourself up while you're trying to make progress. And sometimes that works, like a little bit. But I would say less than half of the time. And I know there's like psychological stats on that as well. But in general, when you are kind of being hard on yourself while also trying to improve your well-being, it's like you are taking a step forward and then yanking yourself back, and then taking a step forward and yanking yourself back. This is the feeling. This is why people feel like they're perpetually either on a diet, temporarily successful from a diet, afraid of not being able to hold the success of that diet, so they go back on the next diet. And ultimately, and there's tons of research for this now, so many people, there's such a high proportion of people who are striving for successful weight loss that actually end up gaining more weight over time when they go diet after diet than if they had just not dieted at all. Like it sounds crazy, right? That dieting can actually make you gain more weight over time, but we have lots of research and statistics now that prove that out. So there has to be another way. And part of why I do what I do, and we have a 3-month program, the Kindness Foundations for Weight and Well-Being, because what you're doing for your body, what you're doing in your choices is great. Whatever you're doing, whether you're just walking the dog once a day for 10 minutes, great. Whether you're full on and you're into going to the gym every day, or having weight loss surgery, or starting on GLP-1s, great. Whatever you're doing for your well-being has a mental and emotional half. Like literally half of your success is coming from the physical choices, and half is coming from the mental underpinnings that determine the physical choices. So why aren't there more supports for the mental half of weight loss? Anybody have any ideas? I'd love to know, because sometimes it's a mystery to me too. I've been doing this work for a decade. And I look to it and I think, wow, here's another option that supports the physical side with just a mention of the mental and emotional side, but no actual constructive ongoing support to the mental side, to the the inner bully. I think of it like we each have an inner bully, and it is running our lives to a large extent. So why there aren't more choices to support that inner life? I don't know. Any ideas? Some of my ideas are in a lot of ways habit, right? As consumers, we're used to looking at what we think is a physical challenge to lose weight, and then we look to physical solutions for it. And that's kind of what the whole diet industry encourages. And what, when you search, you Google for like how to lose 50 pounds or something, 99% of what you're going to find is something to apply to your physical choices, because it's important. Like you can't do it without that. However, when your relationship to yourself is holding you back from following through on those physical choices, you are perpetually going to be trying to make effort. And it gets really hard to bear. Like I don't know if this has happened to any of you, but I was on that journey for a long time where I could only see my body as a problem that wouldn't be fixed until I fit this certain model of like fitness, size, femininity, whatever. And I held myself back from being nice to myself, basically, until I was going to get there. And I know this is so common. I've been helping people, not just women, men too, absolutely, who have a conditional approval relationship with themselves. They'll give more kindness to a stranger on the street than they will to their own thoughts inside their own mind. And that's a problem. That is a problem that is going to hold back your success no matter what medical or physical intervention you use for your weight loss. You're always going to be, on one hand, reaching forward, and then on the other hand, pulling yourself back. So I'd love to know in the chat, like, what's your journey? Have you experienced this where you're hard on yourself and it affects the choices that you make for your own well-being? I'm just going to keep cutting up my apple here because eventually I'm going to eat lunch too. So how has your relationship to yourself affected the choices that you make for your own well-being? And I have lots of stories. So if nobody has one in the chat, I have lots of stories. Okay. It's me today. Next week, Kindness for Lunch is going to have tons of people. But today we're a quiet group. So I had a client a long time ago. And of course, every story I ever share is completely honoring someone's confidentiality. So I will never disclose private information of somebody that I've worked with, but I can tell a story in a general way that protects someone's privacy. So a client from many years ago, she had struggled with her weight for most of her life. But like, she was managing, right? For up until, midlife, she was managing, and then tragedy hit in her life, and she started turning to food more and more to manage the emotional trauma, the challenges, and then naturally, of course, her body showed that, and she was getting bigger and heavier than she ever had been before. And when we met, she wasn't actually feeling able to leave her house, to go to work, to really function in her life. And she was scared. She was scared that her whole life was going to fall apart because she didn't know how to stop using food to cope with her fears and her emotions. And all she could do was kind of berate herself, tell herself how dumb she is that she let it get this far, and how unfortunately she had someone in her life who kind of was like an outer bully that matched her inner bully, so she was getting it from multiple sides. And she felt really hopeless. And I don't know if you've ever experienced that yourself or known anybody who's felt that way, but it's a very scary, very dark place. And so we started working together. And the first thing we did was just begin to understand the mechanism of her own thoughts. So we'd start the very first thing in the morning. How do you feel as soon as you become aware of being awake? What is the first thought? What is the first feeling from that thought? And so on. And very quickly, she became aware of how incredibly, brutally mean her inner dialogue was. And it was hammering her with negativity from before she'd even opened her eyes. Her inner bully was already telling her what a loser, and for sure she's going to lose her job because nobody wants a fat slob at work, and like, this was her own inner dialogue. And she was just trying to tread water in her own well-being to make it through the sea of inner negativity. So naturally, all of a sudden she was like, oh my gosh, no wonder I'm suffering. I'm struggling. It's like, yeah, no wonder. All you felt is judgment. And of course, then you want to just hide, and you need to cope with all of this bad feeling. And what is the coping mechanism that's closest at hand? Food. Or maybe in the case of SBBS, sometimes it's alcohol, right? So she realized, wow, so I'm turning to food because of the beating that I'm kind of giving myself in my own thoughts. Holy moly. Well, how the heck do I change that? Right? I've been doing that for decades. How do I change that? And that's where it really, really helps to get support, because you have a habit. Your mind is a creature of habit. I often say, I live in bear country. Your mind is like a lazy bear. It wants to take the path that's already trodden over years and years. Your mind just wants to run that path of negativity forever and ever, even though it doesn't serve you, even though it's not supportive. And so it takes structured support, ongoing guidance to build new pathways in your mind. And so for this client, that's what we did. And for people that are in our 3-month program, that starts January 12th, by the way, that's what we're going to do, is we're going to, week over week, we're going to replace those old pathways. Uh-oh, we got someone coming in here who thinks that he wants some of my lunch. Come here, you. Come here, you. I'm not going to let him eat my lunch, but you guys should at least meet him. Come here. Come here, Loki. Okay. I told some people that my cats would make a visit today. So here you go, bud. So this is Loki. And normally if I'm eating or cooking, I don't, okay, I'm putting you on the floor now because you're just, but anyway, there you go. That's Loki. Okay. Take that to the floor. I told some people that the cats would make an appearance in the live. So there you go. Where was I? So she started to be able to have something other than judgment for herself. She started to be able to have some compassion. And that is the beginning of finding kindness for herself, which then led her to being able to go out for walks, because she realized that part of what she'd been holding herself back from was something that she really enjoyed, which was going out and just like feeling the air and moving her body in whatever type of movement she wanted. She'd been holding herself back because that inner critic had been telling her, like, you're too fat to go out. You shouldn't show yourself to anybody. And so she'd been holding back. But when she had care and kindness for herself, all of a sudden she's like, you know what? I care more about giving myself this little bit of movement that feels nice, and the smell in the air and everything. I care more about that than anybody who would think something about my body, at least for 10 minutes. She couldn't, it didn't happen all at once. She had to do it in baby steps. But that's what got her out the door, got her moving, got her wanting to nourish her body with food instead of use food for coping mechanisms. Hello, buddy. That were not supporting her well-being. And, again, without giving too much away, but she's doing great. She's getting promotions. She's expanding her life. Her well-being has taken off. And of course, building kindness for herself wasn't the one and only thing she did. It never is, but it is the catalyst. It is the foundation that supportive actions come from. And here's the other thing. Sorry, this is like a sales pitch now, but I can't help it. Here's the other thing. There's no downside. There is no downside to building a habit of self-kindness, to being in a program that helps you build self-kindness in your weight loss journey. There's no side effects, well, negative ones. There's no negative side effects. There's no downside. There's only upsides, and those are pretty endless. So we have 6 minutes left in our live today. I have a lot of sliced apples for my salad, probably more than I will need, which is fine. I think I'll put like a balsamic vinaigrette with the spinach and have maybe a grilled cheese with that. Anyway, that's my lunch. But this is kindness for lunch, and I'm here for questions. So anybody have any other questions any of this is making you curious? Yeah, thanks. I know I'm hungry. I probably will end up eating on these kindness for lunches, but I'm also talking too much to eat really, so don't worry, I will eat. There's never a worry about that. Any questions at all? I'm here. I did have a question from somebody, and feel free, please put your questions in the chat if it comes up. But they said, I'm not a person who would normally think about mindset support as something to reach for when my goal is to lose a bunch of pounds. So why is this helpful? Why should I incorporate this? And a lot of times the answer to that is in looking back on your own experience with your health. If you look back on the decisions you've made, the paths that you've taken or wanted to take, intended to take, but not followed through on, what got in your way? Sometimes it's external efforts like, the kids are too little, like I don't have time to get to the gym. I didn't have enough money for this diet plan or whatever, and that's why I didn't follow through. Sometimes the reasons we don't follow through are external. But I would venture a very well-founded professional guess that a lot of the things that have kept you from making the healthiest choices have had a mental, emotional component that never really got supported. And that is a full 50% at least of what has informed your choices up to this point. So, you absolutely can keep trying to change this on your own. And you can. Like, I am always here to say, where there's a will, there's a way. But I also know as a professional that some of our mental habits are so ingrained, it's very hard to change them on your own. And so having support. And not everybody has access to a therapist that they either can get a regular session with or that they can afford. So having a professional group coaching program that is there for you for 3 whole months, twice a week, and actually every day as well in the chat, we will be there answering questions, helping you build those new mental habits that absolutely support and elevate every decision you're making for your health. Every decision, whether it's not drinking more alcohol at Christmas than you feel really good about doing, whether it's knowing that you can trust yourself to go to the Christmas party and that you can enjoy food while still paying attention to what feels good. So not that you're going to go to the party and just let yourself, eat a few carrots or something because that's all you think you deserve. But going to the party and saying, you know what? I've built a practice of staying tuned into myself. I can enjoy these bites knowing that I'm not eating mindlessly. I'm not eating to stuff down my feelings. I'm eating to nourish and bring myself joy. And that means I'll do it in the way that serves my well-being. So you can build that trust, and you can do all the things, and and bring more kindness to the world, which ultimately we can only do when we're kind to ourselves. So that's my secret mission, by the way. And with that, I say thank you so much. I hope you'll join again next Monday for Kindness for Lunch. And we're also going to do lives on Google Meet so that it's a bit more of a open forum where people can open their cameras and their mics and have questions, give you a sense of what it's like to receive this kind of support. Have a beautiful day, and I hope you feel some kindness for yourself. Thanks, everyone.